All right, Mark, we're here. We've been talking about starting Philanthropic for months. We've had long conversations, lots of planning, wanting to go, run this as a TV show, wanting to do it through YouTube. We've had a lot of, visions and things in terms of how we want to do this. But it's good to finally be here talking, starting our podcast, starting our channel, getting things rolling.
Yeah. No, super excited. And this has been a vision that you've had for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
And so we've had a lot of Zoom calls, meetings, and conversations, and for me, from the beginning, it just really resonated because it's something really unique that can ultimately be something super impactful on a big scale.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to be doing this with you and be a part of this, and we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to jump in. We're starting our YouTube channel here pretty soon, right? We're gonna have our full launch September 16th, or we already had our launch for our YouTube channel, right? On September 16th, we're able to introduce our why we're doing this, why we're here, right? And it all starts with just experiences you and I have had collectively, right? Both together and separately. Our lives have kind of brought us together at this point, right? To try and make a bigger difference and inspire the world to do the same. So I'm really excited for Philanthropic and hope that it's something that people can feel a part of, right? It's not just something that I want to do, right? But it's something where we need the world to get involved and to help make change and inspire people to do the same.
Absolutely, and that's really the only way that you can make significant change is by getting everyone involved. There's great foundations out there. There's people that do great things, but to really go and make a big impact, everyone needs to realize that they can do whatever their part, whatever they can do. That's contributing to the bigger picture and have much greater impact by obviously having thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people involved in this. That's really when you can bring about big change.
Absolutely. Agreed. So let's jump into us, right? Why are we here? Where have we come from? What got us to this point? You're obviously our guest today, representing 5-Star Legacy Foundation, right? You got a great shirt on.
Yep.
You guys had an awesome golf tournament yesterday, raised a bunch of money for charity, and you've been doing this for years. So please introduce yourself. Tell us your story, your background. What is 5-Star? What have you guys, what does the last 15 years of history look like, right, for you guys as a foundation? And I'll turn it over to you.
Well, it's interesting because, just basically my background, I've been an entrepreneur my entire business career and have been involved in a lot of different businesses, and some of them were really good and some of them didn't work out.
Yeah.
As you know, that's just kind of how it goes, and that's the process. But when you're younger, at least for me, it was a little bit more about going and making money and starting these companies and how could I make money, and of course I wanted to provide my family. I grew up in a great family. We didn't have a lot of extra money and motivate. And for me, I thought, there's a lot of things that I want to do for my kids that maybe I wasn't able to do. But what's interesting is those things that I had to work for that I wasn't able to do when I was younger really allowed me to develop good, hard work habits.
Yeah.
And so as you grow and you get a little bit more experience, you start thinking about, you start seeing things in a different light. Because then now I want my kids to have to earn the things that they get also, right? So it's just kind of interesting. So, but my motivation early on was, I wanted to be successful and have a really good create a great livelihood for my family. But as that started to happen, there are a lot of things that I started to learn and gain experience in that obviously that's not what you're going to give you complete happiness, right? The material things, money is necessary. You want to provide for your family. You want to be able to do the things that you have to do, but there has to be a much greater purpose than that. And growing up in a good household and the beliefs that we had, it is a much bigger purpose than just, the main goal isn't to go make a bunch of money. So as I was growing some of my businesses and having good experiences that way, I had an experience. I was doing some leadership training in Indonesia, and we went down there, and this would be a much longer story than I need to tell right now. But ultimately, some people that I was working with, some of my partners down there, they took me to this unexpectedly to this building, and I had no idea what we were doing. We were kind of going around, looking around. We had an event that night. We're kind of checking out Bali. We're riding these motorcycles. It was a beautiful day. Everything's good, and we pull up, and there's about 20 kids standing in front of this building. And so I thought, oh, this is probably an orphanage or something. That's awesome. That's great. These guys set it up. So we go, and as they start to shake these kids' hands, I noticed immediately that they were all blind, right? And so I'm like, wow, that's really tough, right? I knew this at this point. I knew it was an orphanage, and I thought, being orphaned, being abandoned as a kid, whatever the situation is for these kids, and add on that they couldn't see. That was just like, wow, that is rough. Yeah. So we go around to the back. They have this little plaza area or this little courtyard, and they had set up a little stage there, and there was about 40 chairs. And so some of the people there with me and some other people were there. And these kids went up, and they had a choir that sang a song, and they had some different things they were doing. They had a band. They knew that I had kind of had music background, and so there was a electric guitar and drum kit and bass, and they had me come up and play, and just having a great time. And I was really taken aback by this fact. We were there for 45 minutes, an hour maybe. We brought some supplies, we brought some supplements, we did some things for the kids there. They were so grateful that we had spent 1 hour of our time with them. Yeah. And I was again thinking the challenges that these kids have had being in an underdeveloped country, orphaned, no family, and being blind. Yeah. It was just like, it was something that really, and so I was sitting there this whole time just kind of watching this and not being kind of at a loss for words, which doesn't happen very often with me, right? Yeah. I talk too much. But it was that moment that I thought, man, we need to do something, like as a family. There's things, and we had done some things with our kids. We wanted to kind of help them understand that just maybe where they're living, that's not necessarily what the rest of the world's like. So we left, flew home a day later, and I spent the whole long trip from Indonesia just writing notes and thinking, hey, my wife and I, Nikki, we need to start a foundation, and we need to start doing things. So for me, being in that situation, like I could have read about it, or I could have heard about it, but me sitting there, being in that situation and being a part and meeting these kids and understanding it just changed. It just, something clicked. Yeah. And so we started 5 Star Legacy Foundation shortly after that, and that was about 2007, and have done a lot of projects around the world and also locally that we're trying to focus on helping support kids' education, which you can do in a lot of different ways. But it was also one of those things that, so even I was thinking, man, there's so much need in the world. How can one person make a difference? Yeah. Right? How can I go? There is so much, and I would, and on those trips, I would sometimes go to other areas, and every area you went to, every city that you went to, there's just need all around. Right. And so I thought, and part of why we called it 5 Star was the story about the boy on the beach where he's walking along. There's hundreds of starfish there, and everybody knows this story, and he's grabbing one, throwing it back in the ocean, grabbing another, and a guy comes up and says, "Hey, you're not gonna be. What are you doing? You're not gonna be save all these hundreds of starfish." And he grabbed one and threw it, and he said, "I saved that one." And to me, that is such a powerful story, because if you impact one person's life, just one, you've changed somebody's life. Yeah. And potentially changed their family's life, maybe their community, their neighborhood. And so you can't think of it as, we got to go save the world. We want to, but we're going to do it, even the smaller things that we might think, oh, maybe they're kind of insignificant. Those things have been huge. And so for our foundation, that's what we've really done, is we've focused on really individuals, kids, orphanages or schools or villages that we know that we might go into a project and impact 100 people. Yeah. Well, there's billions that need assistance, but we impacted those 100 people and their families. So that's really kind of how we really got 5-Star going and kind of what the motivation was for it. And so now talking to you and the things that you want to do and really taking it to another level. And the point is getting everyone involved and getting everyone to understand and share this story, share this journey with the people that we want to help. I just think that it's such a great idea because people want to help. A lot of times they just don't really understand how they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I come from a very different background, which is why it's fun, that we work together, right? I'm kind of still the front of my career, right? And I don't want to say you're at the end. You got a lot of years ahead of you, Mark, to keep going. But, I always thought, when I was going to college and even in high school and having, I did a lot of humanitarian work growing up. It was just part of my family. It was part of what, my parents ingrained into me and something that I fell in love with early because, maybe I'm that boy with the starfish where I just loved knowing that starfish, that individual, that person, that project was better because I was able to help and I was able to use my skills, whether they were good or not at that point, right? But I was able to use my abilities, whatever that may be, right? In whatever capacity I had to serve to help someone else's life. And that really inspired me, a lot like, you seeing, a bad situation, wanting to help and knowing that you were capable to do that. I kind of always tried to be a little creative, right? I tried to kind of bootstrap my philanthropy, for lack of a better word, right? When it came to wanting to just help people with whatever I had. And that got hard, right? Once I started having a young family and we had needs and financial needs and like everyone goes through those times in their life where like giving just really isn't, sadly, it's just not really an option for them, right? I mean, giving money, no matter what the cause, right? Maybe you just don't have the extra cash. You got to feed your family.
Right.
You got to put your oxygen mask on first, right?
Yep.
There's kind of that feeling out there. But I think the whole idea that money is the only thing that can change someone's life is completely flawed, right? And money can do a lot of good. Like we'll show that, right? I hope that we can showcase what that can do. But I hope that our channel and what we show to people is that just be a good person, right? Help other people when you can, whether that's helping someone change a tire, whether that's giving to someone in need or serving, the old lady across the street. I mean, that goes a long way, right? But what we want to show is how to really help people optimize their philanthropic efforts, right? And be looking more for that, right?
Yeah, and it's amazing because I believe we're all born with that thing inside that when we help other people, that's when we're happiest.
Yeah.
And it could be changing somebody's tire on the side of the road, or it could be opening up the door for somebody and you're going to. I mean, little things. And if you really think about it, that's when we feel the best. Yeah. And one thing that I've learned is to have that real complete happiness. There's a lot of different factors that help us be truly happy. And one of the main factors is when we're helping other people, we feel better. And like you said, it's just that one person, well, if you changed one person's life, I mean, that's one person. That's somebody. That's somebody who has their own story. That somebody has their own struggles and their challenges and the things that they're trying to do. We had a situation where we helped a girl in the Philippines who was a great student through 8th grade. Yeah. She was like the top student, best English speaker in the school, master scriptorian. I think it was a Catholic school, a religious school. And I ran into her at an event I was doing in Manila, or her mom. And her mom said, "Hey, my daughter," and she's telling me all about everything that she done. She said, "But we can't pay for her school starting in high school. It's just too expensive." Yeah. And she said, "Would you guys be willing to help out?" And I said, "Oh, we'd love to. Let us know." She sent me an email a few days later, and she said, "Oh, I know this is a lot, but it's going to cost like $800 for her this year and for school. That gets her supplies, her school uniform, all that kind of stuff." And we were like, Nick and I are like, "Absolutely, we'll do that." So this girl ended up going through school, graduating, got a scholarship at the University of Philippines, and has had a huge impact in her entire community. And so I'm thinking there's a lot of kids around the world, a lot of kids in the Philippines that aren't getting that opportunity to go to high school, but she did. That's one girl that absolutely impacted her family and her community. And so when you look at it that way, I know what she's now doing and the opportunities that she has. That's been tremendous. And it was only one girl.
Yeah.
But so that's where we think that we can impact people's lives. And if it's just one person's life, that's great. That's more than zero.
Yep, exactly.
So, and when you were talking to me about this and just, your background was, I mean, you've done a lot of great things while you were a student, while you were working. And so knowing that that's such a big passion for you, to me, it was like, man, this is a great thing. We want to be a part of it. We want to support it. And we truly want to go out and change the world. And how can we change the world? Well, maybe we're going to change that much of it.
Yeah.
But we're still going to have impact on people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just going along with what you're saying, like when I was going to college and learning, I studied international relations and I minored in basically international development, right? And nonprofit management. And I learned a lot then, through academia about, how to really change the world, right? Or develop an economy or a person's life in the right way, right? And I think I got really caught up with all of that and the statistics and the data and the research and the RCTs and everything else involved in that. And I went out, with my college degree, little me, and I was so excited to just take on the world and go make a big impact right out the gate, right? First few jobs I got, not paid, just kind of did it in my spare time, tried to innovate, tried to create solutions that were human-centric, right? That focused on the people, the individuals experiencing the problem and took them into account, throughout the entire problem-solving process. And I felt like we were able to innovate and we were able to make, really cool, life-changing, community-changing innovations, right? But then I went to sell that, right? I went to fundraise for that. I went to get other people on board, and it felt like I was hitting a brick wall, right? And then if I got through the brick wall, there's another one on the other side because I just got to go raise another $1,000 or $2,000 because it just wasn't enough. And I just kept thinking in my head, like, why do I have to go through this? Why is this a thing? Why is there such a good solution out there and it just can't get the funding? Like, why is that a thing in our society, right? Someone launches a new water bottle, right? That's a big thing here in Utah. You see a new water bottle every month, right? And all of a sudden, millions of people are buying it, right? But why can't there be someone suffering from a problem and that not have the same ripple effect that had? And so that was something that I really wanted to solve, right? I wanted to go out and create that ripple effect. And so I was just sitting there strategizing while working all sorts of jobs. I worked in the college NIL space. I worked in government contracting and utilized, what I had studied in college and tried to kind of go through the public sector, right, to try and solve these problems.
Right.
And I just kind of came back to the same thing and saying, our day and age, it's media, it's videos, it's, especially videos today, it's YouTube, it's TikTok, it's all of the platforms out there that are really getting these messages across. There are I saw a lot of influencers out there. I saw people starting TV shows. I watched Shark Tank. I had seen a lot of ways that people were raising money or funding projects or businesses or other things. And I just, had ever since college, I'd kind of been cooking up like, hey, I want to start a Shark Tank for nonprofit organizations, for social entrepreneurs, right? And philanthropists come on and they're the sharks, right? And they essentially are giving money to the right causes. And then I just kept thinking to myself, hey, that's a great way to do it. But what if we just did more and made it even more global and not just involve 4 philanthropists, but involve the world, right? Crowdfunding is a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Bringing the world together is a big thing right now. And so just creating that ripple effect is what really kind of drew me to the viral media space, I'll call it, right? Yeah. And then, we started having our conversations and saying, hey, this is the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
This is the way to tell these stories. And I think you had raised something earlier, which I wanted to talk about is, people do feel good when they help other people. And that's I think generally, a lot of human beings do feel good when they serve others. But I think there are a lot of people out there that either one, haven't had those conversations, haven't had those experiences, or maybe don't feel that spark or feel good when they're helping other people, right? Maybe their life, and I'm not saying, a life centered around you is always a bad thing, right? I mean, you got to take care of yourself and live your life and
For sure.
and do all those things. But what would you say to people out there that maybe don't feel that, right? They don't feel the urge to help the person begging at the street or support those causes.
You know, it's really tough because people are being asked for things all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different groups, organizations, people. There's always need. There's need everywhere. And one thing that we've talked about that has been really important and kind of the main thing with Philanthropic, which I love, is we have to have empathy. We have to be able to put ourselves in the shoes of others.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that, then we truly can't really appreciate what they're going through, and emotionally, it's not as important to us.
Yep.
When we saw those kids in Indonesia and what they were going through, I was able to just for one moment think, wow, how hard would that be if I were them?
Yeah.
Right? And so with one thing that I think has to happen is, like you said, people sometimes don't have that experience of really helping other people. So you can go give a couple dollars to somebody on the street that needs money.
Right.
But it and that's nice. That's great. But you really don't know also what's going to be the result of that.
Yeah.
Right? And you drive on your way and you never see that person again and it's done. Mm-hmm. But what, Philanthropic and what you're wanting to do with getting people part of this, making them part of the story and being a part of this journey.
Yeah.
And so when you see, and when I go back and visit some of the places that we've supported over the last 15 or 17 years, we built a dormitory and a computer lab and a library for a place in an orphanage in Surabaya, Indonesia. Going back there after and knowing the whole story and knowing these kids and seeing what happened, that it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so when people can experience that, they can be kind of part of that journey. And maybe it was just a small donation or some small support.
Yeah.
There's some onus now in that situation. Mm-hmm. And there's this emotional connection that a lot of people will get when they say, wow, I know that guy. I'm helping support him.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him. He's going to get a job now. Yeah. It just changes everything. And so for those that maybe haven't experienced that feeling of helping others and feeling really good, you just got to give it a try.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what will happen. And it's amazing what it will do to you as a person as well when you start to get those feelings rushing through, as opposed to, like you said, and it's not always a bad thing, but we're very self-centered generally because we got to take care of ourselves first. But when we can add some of those other experiences, I think that those are life-changing things, and it makes us better human beings when we're experiencing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. Right, empathy is the core to all of it. When I felt like there were two big disconnects. One is I have to keep fundraising over and over and over again because I have to, go find enough people to do that.
And the people you're talking to, companies or whoever it is, they're getting asked multiple times to support, and there's no emotional. Now, it might be somebody that you know really well and you have that relationship with, but most of the time it's so hard because there's no real tie to that.
Yeah.
And that's a huge reason. And with some of my companies, we get hit up a lot, and we try to do a lot, and with our foundation we try to do a lot, but it's just so different when you're emotionally connected to that project or what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes to our mission, right? We want to create empathy through media to inspire action against poverty. That's as simple as it is, right? We want our viewers, people who follow us and work with us and donate to us, to know what it's like through a video to be in that person's shoes.
Right.
And we're going to try and get people as close as that possible. And we're maybe going to be as good at it at the beginning, right? But we're going to get better, and we're going to change a lot through this, right? I know I'm going to change a lot through this. We've already done a lot of projects in the last month, right? A lot of content that's coming out, soon to be released. And it's already changed me. It's changed my perspective. It's changed. I always have my stereotypes or my thoughts or my, my pre-reservations or whatever it might be, right? When I go into a situation or a video or a situation, but you stay open-minded and you stay willing to learn and really just let others talk, right? And that's a big part of gaining empathy is just listening and hearing their stories and watching and opening your eyes to just notice what they're going through.
It's amazing because with all the shows on TV, like American Idol, for example.
Sure.
you might watch that, and it's down to the last 12 contestants or whatever, and they kind of do these little background stories on each of these performers. And you find yourself starting to root for certain ones because you understand what their situation is and the struggles that they've had, and you start rooting for them. And it's the same thing, and it's very natural for somebody to drive by a homeless person and think, well, why don't they go get a job? Well, why don't they do this? I mean, come on, they're just out there. But once you start understanding the background and the story and the human part of that situation, then you start rooting for that person. And I think what you're saying is exactly right, is let's bring everyone along on this journey and this story and have everyone be a part and see and feel what this person is going through and what they're trying to overcome. And as they overcome things, we're a small part of that success.
Exactly. Get philanthropic, right? You're going to hear us say that a lot. Get philanthropic. That's what we're saying. Empathize, right? Watch our video. Empathize with that individual or that community or problem, and take action. Whatever that may be. Maybe that's just a like. Maybe that's a share. Maybe that's sharing it to someone who you know might have even more empathy than you for that sort of situation. But I know, like, as a connected world, like, the fact that there are still people out there within the reach of a text message or a phone call or just walking across the street that could have your help, right? And so I've said this again, like, I just envision a world where a like or a click or a share, right, just from the post of a video can go a long way in just absolutely changing someone's life, right? And we live in that world.
We live in that world 100%.
We totally do. And so that's the vision for Philanthropic. And I think the biggest thing that I just want to headline is everyone is a philanthropist, right? I think philanthropy and charity and humanitarianism or whatever you want to call it, right, is always tagged with money. And money is very connected to this, right? Wealth is a key I guess I'll say, like, a key catalyst to well-being in a lot of ways, right? And I've met a lot of people that don't have a lot of money that are extremely happy. It's not a measure of happiness, right? But it is absolutely an enabler, and that's what we're going to use it as, right? To enable people to lift themselves out of poverty. And that's what this is all about, right?
And that's exactly that's what it needs to be about, right? It's not, we can't just, you give and then you move on. You give and then you move on. There's a lot of reasons why people are in situations that they're in. So for us, it's kind of like this journey with this person. It's a process, or this family, or this group of people that we're going to help. It's not just a one-time, hey, here you go, good luck. It's being part and bringing our resources and network together that can help support those people to get them to where they really want to be.
Exactly. And I know at our early stages of talking and discussing, what this would look like in terms of creating a YouTube channel and partnering between 5-Star and Philanthropic, it came down to, I had kind of pitched to you and said to you, hey Mark, like, I know you're going to have to go back and fund this project again next year for $1,000 or $10,000. So you're going to have to make those packed lunches or hygiene kits or whatever it may be again, right? And that's great to continue to do service and do those things that need to be done. 100% should be done. But I loved that I could come to you and say, if we can do this right, and if we can tell the stories right, and we can get people to believe the things that you do, not in a sneaky way, right? But in a way that was very transparent and showcasing to them, what these problems were, right? And again, we always say raw storytelling. That's what we want to focus on, right? We're not trying to we're not beating around the bush. We're saying it how it is. We're trying to get to the root of the problem, right? And really help people understand that. But I think the value add of having a video or a TikTok or something or a podcast that talks about a situation or a story that can enable others to empathize a little more is key in kind of taking these problems and truly eliminating them for good, right? And getting the world at large to come together to support something and something that they are feeling, empathetic about.
That totally, and everyone loves a story. And everyone loves a good, happy story, right? This is going to be true storytelling. Like, this is real stuff that we can really we can relate to,
Yeah.
that we can be a part of, and again, that empathy. But this is a story that we're helping these people in these tough situations create
Yeah.
for themselves, but we're a part of that.
Yep.
And so I think the concept and what we are going to do is we want to go impact millions of people's lives, but for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Right? And that's what's really, really important. I think what's
Exactly.
different is very specific things that we're doing that are not just a one-time thing. And we need the crowd, we need the community, we need people to get behind it. And like you said, we believe that as people get a little bit emotionally involved in these things that we're doing, it's going to grow because people want to do good. People want to help others.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, that's a part of life that can bring us really true happiness is how can we go out and impact other people's lives?
Yep.
That's what we want to do. And we want to do it for a long time. And like I said, not just a one time, it's impact people's lives for the rest of their lives is really important to us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to just give a quick, closing thought, and then I want you to kind of give, Mark's final words of wisdom. As we kind of go through this, what are you saying to viewers and people listening to this, to just inspire them and I guess just inspire them to take action, to do something. But what I've really learned, through my life and trying to help other people, it really it just changes you. Right? It changes you internally. It makes you want to be better. It makes it opens your eyes to how important it is to just take care of other people,
right.
Those around you, those you don't know. And that's something the world needs right now, right? Just be a good person, love other people. You can have your opinions, you can have your thoughts, you can have, the things that you're doing at the end of the day. But what it comes down to is just try and empathize with others, try and understand their situation, and do everything you can to help other people, right? Everybody has something they can do, right? I always think of the oxygen mask, analogy and thinking about that, from, when you're sitting on an airplane and don't put on your neighbor's mask until you have your own secured. And I agree with that, right? I think everybody needs to take care of themselves so that they then can be much better equipped to help their neighbor. But you might not be able to go reach the person in the back of the plane, right, once your oxygen mask is secured. And we're not asking the whole world to fly across the world to another country and do this project, right?
Yeah.
There's always something you can do right next door to change someone's life. And that person can have a ripple effect. And the actions you take can inspire people to take actions. And maybe in some cases you are, flying to other areas. And there's always something you can do. But everybody's a philanthropist. Everything has something they can offer to the world. It might be resources. It might be items. It might be things you're donating to the homeless shelter. It might be money in your back cart, money in your back pocket, or excess food, or just a smile, right? But I truly believe that everybody is a philanthropist. Everybody can get involved, and everyone can be involved in this project with Philanthropic by subscribing, listening to our podcast, and just going on this journey with us, right? You're going to become more empathetic. You're going to learn more about human beings, human nature, human mistakes, right? You're going to learn a lot through this. But at the end of the day, there's hope and there's things we can do about it. We can come together as a community, as a YouTube channel, and we can change the world.
Yep.
We can end poverty.
100%. I love it. And I think that we are going to really, really have great impact. Great things are not accomplished by one action. Great things are accomplished by a lot of small actions that build into something great. And that's what's really important with this is I think a big thing that both you and I really, we really agree with is that everyone can be philanthropic. Everybody, and it's not the level, it's not the amount, because everyone's in different situations. But everybody can do something. Yeah. And so it might be just subscribing and liking and following and making yourself part of this story, the stories that we're creating. Yeah. And that's great. It might be sharing this with your friends because, wow, I can't believe what these guys are doing because this person, look at how his life has changed or how her life has changed.
Yes.
It might be your network of people that you want to get involved. Like you said, it might be a little donation. There's a million things. It's not just one thing, but do something. take some action. And so we want to grow this to be huge because we know that will have huge impact on millions of people. That's the goal. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
But it starts right now by really going and helping everybody that is part of and becomes part of this group of Philanthropic, that they're part of the story.
Yes.
And that they know that their impact, big or small, but they had impact on the story. And I'm excited because I know you have great ideas, great stories. You already have some great content. But the things that we're going to be doing, I think, will be unique to what others are doing and an opportunity for people to see themselves change and transform a little bit in the way of being a part of something much bigger than themselves, but being a part of these people's success story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for anyone hearing this right now, we want to collaborate with you. We want, if you have projects that you think we need to hear, that we need to get involved with, that the world needs to see, right? Real solutions that are helping individuals suffering, like, get us involved. Let's collaborate. If there are large corporations out there that know that they can make a big difference through their foundation or through their products or whatever it may be, let's get it to the people that need it. Let's work together. I've called on academia. I've called on social media influencers. I've called on corporate CEOs. I'm calling on the world. Like, let's do this. We don't need to just be one person, right? And I always say this, like, somebody can't help everybody, right? But everyone can help someone.
Absolutely.
Right. So.
And I hope to look back on this podcast in somewhere in the future, in the near future, and seeing what we collectively, the communities, the worldwide community, what we have been able to do. And that's one thing when we got to know each other and started doing some things together, I knew where your heart is.
Yeah.
And so people that are donating their money or their time, they're going to know that it is going to very significant projects and people and the impact that it's going to have. And so there's going to be, we need everyone involved, but we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something that's going to be really impactful and change a lot of lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Mark, for coming on. I'm sure we're going to see you again and have you on the podcast, regularly. And excited for all these projects and just for all the good that we're going to be able to do. So thanks for coming on, and we'll catch you next time.
Well, thank you for all you're doing and this idea and everything, and just having the vision of what you want to do and what we can do together. So thank you, and I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
All right.